All right, let's dive into a design pattern that, I'll be honest, can feel a little bit weird at first. But trust me, once it clicks, it is an incredibly powerful tool for making your C# code way more flexible and so much easier to maintain. We're talking about the visitor pattern, and today we're going to demystify it. So let me ask you this, because I'm pretty sure every single one of us has been here. You've got this set of classes, they're perfect. They're tested, they're stable, they just work. But now you have to add a new feature, a new operation that touches all of them. What do you do? Do you really want to crack open every single one of those files and risk breaking something? Well, that exact dilemma is why the visitor pattern even exists.
To really see what I mean, let's paint a picture. Imagine you're building a document editor. Super common example. And your document is made up of all these different elements, right? You've got text, you've got images, maybe some tables, and you need to do stuff to them, like render them on the screen or send them to a printer.
Now, your first instinct, and it's a totally logical one, is to put the logic for those operations right inside each class. So the text element class has a render method and a print method. The image element class does the same thing, and so on. It seems simple, it seems clean, at first.
But here's where the cracks start to show. This seemingly simple design has some pretty serious hidden costs. The moment your app starts to grow and product management comes and says, hey, we need to export to PDF now, well, that simple structure starts to fall apart and it becomes a real nightmare to maintain. Let's break down exactly why. First off, you're just blowing right past the single responsibility principle. An image element's job should be about the image, not about printing or exporting. Then there's the code duplication. But the biggest problem? It's just not flexible. You want to add that export to PDF feature? Guess what? You're now editing every single element class. And over time, this just doesn't scale. Your classes get bloated with all this unrelated code, and they become impossible to work with. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Your whole system becomes rigid, brittle. Every time you want to add a new operation, this change ripples across your entire code base, making it fragile and really hard to extend. So, how do we fix this mess? Well, this is where the visitor pattern comes in to save the day. Its whole philosophy is based on a new approach, separating the action from the object it's acting on. And here it is, the official definition. It's a behavioral pattern that lets you add new operations to objects without having to modify them. I mean, just let that sink in. You can add new features without touching code that already works. That's the holy grail, right? It's an incredibly clean solution to the exact problem we've been talking about.
What's great about this is you can see the fundamental shift in thinking. The old way, operations are stuck inside the element classes. With the visitor pattern, we completely yank that logic out and put it into its own separate visitor class. So you end up with a render visitor, a print visitor, and when you need that new feature, an export to PDF visitor.
And just like that, all of our earlier problems, they're solved. We get a beautiful separation of concerns that fixes the single responsibility violation. All of our operation logic is now centralized in one place. No more code duplication. And best of all, adding a new operation is, well, it's easy. You just create one new visitor class. That's it. Your element classes stay clean, lean, and focused.
Okay, theory's great, but let's see how this thing actually works. Let's go back to our document editor example and see what the code looks like after we refactor it using the visitor pattern. The magic here is in this little two-step dance. It's a technique called double dispatch. First, our element, let's say the image element, calls a method on itself called accept. and it hands over a visitor, like our render visitor. Then in step 2, the image element immediately calls a method back on the visitor, basically saying, hey, I'm an image, so visit me. The visitor then runs the specific code for rendering an image.
Now, this whole dance is made possible by two really important interfaces that act like a contract. First, you have an iElement interface. This is a promise that every single one of your elements, text, image, table, whatever, will have that accept method. Second, you have the iVisitor interface. Think of this as the specialist's playbook. It declares a specific visit method for every single type of element, so it knows exactly what to do with each one.
So you might be thinking, this is cool, but it still feels a bit abstract. When would I really use this? The document editor is a classic, but let's try a simple, real-world analogy to make it click.
Let's go shopping. Imagine you're building the back end for an e-commerce site. It's Black Friday, and you need to apply all sorts of different, complex discount rules to your products. But the key is, the products themselves, your product classes, they are stable. You don't want to mess with them every time a new sale comes along.
So in our shopping analogy, the products are our elements. Let's say we've got electronics for $1,000 and groceries for $200. These are our stable classes. We don't want to touch them.
Instead of cramming discount logic into every single product class, we create a single, elegant discount visitor. This one class holds all the rules for the sale. 10% off for electronics, 5% off for groceries. It's all right there, neatly organized in one place.
So, our discount visitor visits the electronics product. It knows the rule is 10% off, it does the math, and boom, the new price is $900. And the best part? The electronics class itself was never modified. It's completely untouched.
And when that very same visitor object moves on to the groceries product, it looks at its internal logic and applies the 5% discount. The new price, $190. See how clean that is? One visitor object is handling different logic for different types, all centralized and easy to change for the next sale. So let's just recap. When should you reach for this pattern? Here's the cheat sheet. Use it when you have a stable set of classes that you really don't want to change. Use it when you need to perform lots of different and unrelated operations on those classes. But, and this is a big but, there is a trade-off. If you find yourself adding new element types all the time, this pattern can actually be a pain, because you'll have to go update every single visitor. It really shines when the objects are stable and it's the operations that are changing.
Ultimately, the visitor pattern gives you this incredible flexibility to grow your application's features cleanly, safely, without breaking things. So the real question is, when you look at your own projects, what's that next complex operation you could pull out and transform into a visitor?